NFL season is just about to begin, so it's time to give you guys some predictions. I'm going to give you guys my final prediction for the Bears record for the 2021 NFL season. What is going on, y'all? Fox Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL here to talk about the Chicago Bears. So if you're a Bears fan, hit the big red subscribe button down below. Make sure you're following me on all my social media platforms. And guys, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I drop a new video. So I'm going to give you guys my final prediction, go through every single game on the whiteboard behind me. And I'm also going to tell you guys if the Bears make the playoffs or not. So two very important questions that people have. And I've done this earlier in the offseason, but now I want to give my final thoughts before the regular season begins and everything counts. So here we go. Let's get it. All right, so here we go. Predicting the Chicago Bears final regular season record and also whether or not they make the playoffs. So as you see on the whiteboard behind me, I'm going to go through every single game for the Bears this season and give you guys a prediction on if they win or lose that game. So with the W or an L. And then over here, I've got the potential playoff teams in the NFC. And I'm going to tell you if the Bears will make the playoffs. Okay, so the season's literally starting up. So this is a perfect time. We kind of know everybody's roster now. It's finalized, the 53-man, everything's set. So now, before the season starts, this is going to be my official prediction for the Bears' final regular season record and whether or not they make the playoffs. All right, so here we go, going through every single game for the Bears and giving you guys a prediction with a W or an L for every single game. Now, I do want to preface my comments by saying I know Andy Dalton is the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears, especially, obviously, for week one. But that doesn't mean he's going to remain the starter for the entire season. In fact, since these are my predictions, of course, I believe Justin Fields will start for the Bears this season. I actually have Justin Fields starting for the Bears in week 4. So I believe Andy Dalton lasts 3 weeks, and we see Justin Fields against Detroit in week 4. So, again, there's a chance Andy Dalton starts all season. There's a chance maybe Justin Fields comes in later, like around the bye week. I have the week 4 against Detroit. All right, so these are going to be the predictions that I have with the first 3 weeks with Andy Dalton and the rest of the season with Justin Fields. All right, so let's go ahead in week 1. We've got the Bears against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. And folks, this one is going to be an annihilation. The Rams are a Super Bowl contender who upgraded by getting Matt Stafford. This is going to be an absolute mismatch. The Rams pretty much have an advantage everywhere over the Bears, maybe besides the Bears having a slightly better run game, but that's because the Rams running backs are hurt. But for the most part, folks, a better offense, better defense. The Bears will not win this game. The Rams will. This is an L. All right, moving on to week 2 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is a revenge game for one Andy Dalton, and I believe he gets up for this game. The Bengals aren't very good, especially defensively. They can put up some points with Joe Burrow and his wide receivers and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. But I think the Bears' defense is able to slow them down, and I think the Bears pick up their first win in week 2. Week 3 against the Cleveland Browns, I believe this is a loss for the Bears on the road in Cleveland against a much better team, much better roster. I don't think there's much to talk about here. The Browns are just a better team, and the Bears are on the road. They're going to lose this game. All right, so there we go. The Bears will be 1-2, and that's when I believe Matt Nagy succumbs to the pressure from all the fans and everyone. He benches Andy Dalton, and we see Justin Fields start in week 4. Justin Fields immediately gets a spark for this Bears team. They beat the lowly Detroit Lions, who are, arguably one of the worst teams in the NFL. Their roster is atrocious, and they have Jared Goff at quarterback. Then in week 5 against the Raiders, I believe the Bears win this game. The Raiders aren't very good. Their offensive line downgraded. They really don't have any weapons besides Darren Waller, and their defense is pretty bad too. So the Bears should be able to beat this Raiders team. All right, week 6 at home against the Packers. I like their chances here better than on the road, again, in Green Bay, but I still think the Packers win here. That's an L. They're the best team in this division. Pretty much everyone's coming back, so there you have it, folks. A loss for the Bears against the Packers. At Tampa Bay, this is a loss. The Bucs are obviously defending Super Bowl champions. I know we beat them last year, but lightning doesn't strike twice, and I don't see it happening, or Tom Brady again forgets there's 4 downs. And it's in Tampa Bay. Yeah, that's going to be tough. That was in Chicago where we won. That's an L. At home against the 49ers. Now, a lot of people like the 49ers. I don't. I think the other 3 teams in their division are better. But the 49ers have an easy schedule, so they could, obviously rack up some wins. They're going to be, switching their quarterback just like the Bears will between Jimmy G and Trey Lance. I think the Bears have enough to beat the 49ers at home, especially if this was in San Fran. Maybe I get a little worried there, but I'm going to say the Bears beat the 49ers. Against Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 9, and this is an L. Look, the Steelers' offensive line isn't very good, but this is still a very potent offense, a very solid defense, and it's in Pittsburgh. That's an L. All right, here we go. Bye week, and then coming out of the bye week against the Ravens, that's a loss. The Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, that rushing attack, should be able to do whatever they want against this Bears team, and we're not going to be able to do much against that Ravens defense. Okay, so that's a loss there. Detroit Lions are hapless and pathetic. That's a W, even in Detroit. All right, Arizona Cardinals at home against Arizona. I believe the Cardinals are a playoff team this year. I like Kyler Murray going into year 2. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously a beast. They added J.J. Watt. This is going to be an improved team. I think this is an L for the Bears. Week 14 against the Packers in Green Bay at Lambeau. Again, just a better team, folks. We could split against the Packers. I just don't see it, though. I'm going to say that's an L. Week 15 at home against the Minnesota Vikings. I think this is a W. Look, the Vikings have talent on their roster, and their defense should get better. It was atrocious last year. But the Bears just have their number over the Vikings, especially when the Vikings have had Kirk Cousins at quarterback over the last couple of seasons. I mean, we beat the Vikings with Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Foles. So we should be able to beat them with Justin Fields. All right, so I'm going to say that's a W. Seattle Seahawks on the road in Seattle. That's a loss. Russell Wilson and that offense, I believe they are elite. And in Seattle, it's going to be tough to win against them. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. Giants, Week 17, we should be able to win here. The Giants' defense is atrocious. I'm not a fan of Daniel Jones. He isn't very good. And so I think we beat the Giants. And then finally against the Vikings in Week 18. Look, folks, I could do it. I could say we lose here. I just don't see it. We have the Vikings number, folks. And depending on what happens with seeding, we could have a lot to play for here. I'm going to go and give this a dub for the Bears. So where does that put the Bears' final record prediction? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 and 9 is my final record for the Bears this season. Remember, there's 17 games. That's why that looks odd. There's a couple of games that could flip. I think this Cardinals game could flip, right? That we could win this game. I think one of the Minnesota games could flip, right? So we could lose one of those 2 games. I think the game against the 49ers could flip. We could lose that game. I'm talking about the toss-up games here. So we're talking about a difference of 3 games here, 1, 2, 3, where I've got them winning 2 of them and losing 1 of them. So this could get worse maybe, but I'm going to stick with 8-9 as the Bears' final record for the 2021 NFL season. Now let's get into the fun stuff here because we've got the potential playoff teams in the NFC. So is 8-9 going to be good enough to get into a playoff spot? We shall see. Let's take a look at the board here. I've got the top 4 teams in the NFC, I believe, that are locks, absolute locks to make the playoffs. And that's the Rams, Packers, Bucs, Seahawks. So let's go ahead and put a check by them. Okay? So those teams are a lock. I don't think anyone should be able to argue that. After that, all of these teams, I believe, are in contention, right? Cowboys, Washington football team, the Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco 49ers, the Minnesota Vikings, Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears. Now, I didn't put the Falcons in here. Maybe I could put them as well, but I just don't think they're good enough. And then I don't have the Saints. These are teams that I believe actually have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. Everyone who I've left off here, I don't believe they have a chance. I don't believe their roster is good enough. So there's essentially 3 more spots left. Well, I didn't pick a winner for the NFC East here. So one of these 2 teams will absolutely get a playoff spot because someone has to win that division. And the Cowboys, if you see here, this number, this basically means their strength of schedule. The Cowboys have the 31st strength of schedule, which means they have a very easy schedule. That is why I believe they get into the playoffs as well. They win that division. Dak Prescott coming back, if he stays healthy, they should be able to win that division. They have an easy schedule, and they have the most talented team in the NFC East. So that's 5 spots gone, 2 spots left. Who's it going to go to between all of the rest of these teams? Well, when I take a look at strength of schedule here, the rest of these teams kind of fall in line, right? Washington football team with 15, 15th in strength of schedule. Cardinals 13th. 49ers pretty easy at 19. Vikings and the Bears have a tough schedule, and then the Panthers at 26. So all these other teams not the NFC North teams, have an easier schedule than the Bears do. So to me, I feel like the Cardinals, so again, we've got 5 spots done, 2 spots left. I feel like the Cardinals, to me, get one of the remaining 2 spots. And that's mainly because I believe that Kyler Murray is going to take another leap this year. And I really like the Cardinals team, both offensively and defensively. I think they improve. And as far as these other teams, look, folks, I just don't trust the Minnesota Vikings. I can't do it. Their defense could improve, and their offense with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, and Kirk Cousins is solid. But I can't pick a team I can't trust. I don't trust the Vikings. I don't trust the Panthers either with Sam Darnold. But they do have weapons. They do have a chance. I just don't trust them. So now it comes down to the Bears and the 49ers and the Washington football team. And the Washington football team has an elite defense. The Bears do also have an elite defense, but it's been kind of weak. The 49ers don't have an elite offense or defense. They're solid on both ends, but they do have an easier schedule than both the Washington football team and the Bears. And so taking a look at that, this is very difficult for me. But I do think because the Washington football team is going to be able to pick up easy wins in a bad division against the Eagles and against the Giants, we could see maybe the NFC East having 2 playoff teams, so they could get in there. I just don't see how the NFC West has 4 teams. I already put the Cardinals in. I'm not going to put the 49ers in, so I got to take them out. So really it's between Washington football team and the Chicago Bears. All right? And so between the Bears and the Washington football team, folks, I believe with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback and an elite defense and some weapons on offense and a solid coach in Ron Rivera, I do think the Washington football team gets that last spot. I thought the Bears would, and I had them before, but I just think the Washington football team is better, and yeah, I think they get it. So the Bears definitely have a shot. They definitely do, but the football team has an easier schedule, and like I mentioned, with all of the things that they have going for them, and they made the playoffs last year. Again, it was a weak division, but I like this team, I like this roster, and I like what they have. So to me, Bears do not make the playoffs, but they get close. They get very close, and that is because of Justin Fields making that late run. So let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Leave a comment down below. As always, thanks for watching.